It was supposed to be just another missing person case. But what the local police found inside a locked room in an otherwise quiet home shocked even the most seasoned investigators. What followed was a chain of chilling events no one could explain and a mystery that remains unsolved to this day. The town of Grover's Mill wasn't the kind of place you'd expect darkness to linger. It was a quiet pocket of New Jersey, mostly known for its historical significance and sleepy neighborhoods. Everyone knew each other, and crime was virtually non-existent. That is, until the Harrows disappeared. Mark and Susan Harrow were a quiet, reclusive couple in their early 40s. They had moved into 112 Blakemore Lane only 6 months before everything happened. Neighbors described them as polite but distant. Mark was an author, mostly true crime and horror, and Susan was a freelance editor. They kept to themselves, didn't socialize much, and were rarely seen during the day. But no one thought much of it. It wasn't until Susan's sister, Jennifer, tried to reach her for days with no answer that the first sign of trouble emerged. She called the police for a welfare check. Officers arrived at the Harrows' home on a cold October morning. The house was locked. Lights were off. No signs of forced entry. Everything looked still, almost too still. When police entered through the back door, they described the inside of the house as eerily undisturbed. Dishes in the sink, a kettle half full on the stove, a laptop open but powered off. There were no signs of struggle, but something felt off. Then they found the room. A door, locked from the outside with a thick iron bolt. Strange for a home office or guest room. After several attempts, they pried it open. Inside was a nightmare. The room was lined with newspaper clippings, all of them about missing persons. Red string connected photos to maps, scribbled notes, and even some sketches of faces no one could identify. In the center of the room was an old recorder, still running, but the tape had long since stopped. Blood stained the corner of the carpet, dried and flaked. But there were no bodies. No sign of Mark. No sign of Susan. Only a single message scribbled repeatedly on the walls. It watches from the mirror. The phrase was written in different inks, different hands. It looked like it had been written dozens of times. Investigators brought in forensic teams. The blood belonged to Susan, but not entirely. DNA tests revealed another unknown sample. Not Mark's. Not Susan's. Not in the system. The recorder held static, but faintly underneath you could hear whispering. Not words. Just murmurs. Several techs analyzed it. One expert swore he could hear Susan's voice repeating, "Don't look at it, don't look at it," layered under what sounded like heavy breathing. But the more they tried to examine the evidence, the stranger things got. Files went missing. 2 officers assigned to the case suffered psychological breakdowns within weeks. One claimed he couldn't sleep without seeing eyes in every mirror. The other refused to speak, drawing the same image over and over, a tall, dark figure with hollow sockets for eyes. Neighbors reported hearing strange noises from the Harrow house for weeks before the discovery, whispering at night, tapping against windows. One man claimed he saw a woman staring out from the upstairs window days after the couple vanished. But the house was empty. Or so they thought. A team was brought in to conduct a deep search of the property. In the attic, behind a false wall, they found something that sent chills down everyone's spine. A small, windowless chamber with an old mirror cracked down the center. On the mirror, etched with something sharp, were the words, "It can't leave if you don't see it." What did that mean? No one had answers. But after this discovery, every investigator who entered the room reported feelings of dread. Some claimed nausea. Others refused to even go near the mirror. The house was sealed. The investigation classified, though some details leaked to the public over the years. But here's where things get darker. For months after the Harrows disappeared, a woman was found wandering a nearby forest. Naked, confused. She had no memory of who she was or how she got there. Her fingerprints matched no records. But what horrified authorities? She had the same face as Susan Harrow. But Susan's dental records didn't match. It was like someone or something had copied her almost perfectly. Almost. The woman was kept under psychiatric observation. She barely spoke except one phrase, repeated again and again. "It watches from the mirror." Eventually, she vanished too. In the middle of the night, from a locked hospital room with a guard outside. Security footage glitched for exactly 7 minutes. When it returned, the bed was empty. To this day, no trace of Mark or Susan has been found. The house on Blakemore Lane still stands, but no one lives there. Locals avoid it. And every now and then, someone claims to see a figure standing at the upstairs window. Watching. Waiting. The case remains open but cold. Investigators refuse to speak publicly. Some have moved far from Grover's Mill. One retired officer under anonymity said in an interview, "Whatever was in that room wasn't human. And it wasn't done." Over the years, similar reports have emerged: strange disappearances, locked rooms, mirrors etched with warnings. Always with that same phrase. "It watches from the mirror." Is it a copycat? A mass hysteria? Or something darker moving through shadows, using reflections as windows? We may never know. Just remember, next time you look into a mirror, don't look too long. And if you see something move that isn't your reflection, look away. Subscribe to the channel for more interesting content.